I'm Celeste Giordano with CelesteGiordano.com, your show host of Global Legacy and Wealth Building for the next hour. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. And last but not least, our disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. And thank you, Jamie Parker, for being our guest here today. And I want to thank Penny Rogers with WCEG Network. This is our fourth season being with WCEG Network, and it's such an honor and privilege to be a show host. And thank you, Penny Rogers, for the platform that you provide to so many people like myself, and as well as to people, our guests that we have on these shows tonight. It's such a privilege and honor to be able to reach out into the community, speak the life into the community, and to get information out that is so valuable to our community so we can all make a difference in the world. And before we get started in this show, I really wanted to take just a few seconds or a few minutes and just a moment of silence for those people at Appalachia High School. Very close, Jamie, to you and I mean, within 5 miles of my house. And I just, it was such a senseless act, and it just touched my heart and touched home with me. And I'm sure with you, and that you've had with high school kids like Jesse, and you got Jada in college, that I'm sure you've had some conversations with your children as well. So I would love to just have a moment of silence for those teachers, the faculty, the students, and for those families. All right, thank you so much for that. Jamie, how has your summer been?
Busy as always.
Absolutely. Well, you know, this is your first rodeo on WCEG Network, and for our fall season opener, I couldn't think of anybody that I would rather have than you on this show. We have so much coming up. This is the last month of the third quarter, getting ready to roll into the fourth quarter. And everybody knows this is an election year coming up in November. The housing market, the stock markets, finance, everything is like a roller coaster right now. And I just am looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the housing market here in Atlanta and all the great things that are going on with you and your business. I've been following you on social media now for, probably almost 10 years. And we were just talking how we served at an international summit back in 2017, and Jada and Jesse were just little ones. And here Jesse's now 16, driving, and Jada's in her first year of college. And you have done a phenomenal job as a single parent raising your children right there. So I enjoy following you and your family on social media. So anything special happened this summer, or anything that you did special?
We did take the kids on vacation. We always we go to Destin quite a bit, and that's
Right.
nice close beach. And nothing, didn't take any really big trips because Jaden was working at a daycare this summer, and then Jesse was working at Dogwood Pizza. So they're both employed, where they were both gainfully employed most of the summer. So we really didn't have any purposeful, didn't really have any big plans to go anywhere or do anything big, just because they needed to save money. Jesse specifically needed to save for his car insurance, which he's about to have to make his first payment.
I love it.
It's only $287 extra per month to add him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
But, and that's good. I don't know. What was your first job, Jamie, when you were a child growing up?
Oh my gosh, it was the worst job ever. I worked at McDonald's in the dining room, cleaning up for 8 hours after people and sweeping floors, and for $3.75 an hour. That was minimum wage back when I was in high school.
Well, now you want,
I was 15 years old.
I'm going to date myself. My first job was, I was in the ninth grade, I think, ninth grade or eighth grade or ninth grade. I don't know if you remember S&H green stamps. And one of my friends, her mother was a manager of an S&H green stamps in North Miami Beach. And that was my first job. I used to ride every Saturday with her mother and Lou. Her name was Lou. And we were stalkers and things of that nature. And then eventually at the end of the summer, we got to wait on customers and stuff like that. But when you went to the grocery store or the gas station, Jamie, you used to get these S&H green stamps, and then you had a book, and you had to put those stamps in a book. And then when you got so many books, you could take them to one of the retail stores and get merchandise. And so you need to look that up sometime. But that was my first job.
Yeah.
And in case anybody wants to know, I was working for S&H green stamps, and I made, I think, $1.25 an hour was the minimum wage back then. So anyways, and you know what? It didn't hurt you, and it didn't hurt me starting to work early. And I think it's good that our teenagers start to work and they earn and they pay for some of the expenses and stuff like that, because it teaches them accountability and responsibility.
It does. I had to pay for my own insurance. I had to pay for, yeah, it's not that my parents couldn't afford it. They just made me work. They made me work for things.
Absolutely. And my parents didn't buy me a brand spanking new car. I mean, whatever money I saved, they matched. And then my first car was a 1967 MGB. And it was, yeah, so it was, I don't know how much cars were back then, but anyways, I didn't get a brand spanking new car, that's for sure.
Yeah, my first car was the 1988 Pontiac Bonneville SE, and I did not have a car in high school.
Okay.
And I didn't even have a car my first semester of college. And they surprised me when I got back from my first semester of college, and then I had a car. And I drove, instead of taking the train back, I took the car back.
There you go. Well, very good. Just a little nostalgia here of us talking about the past, but you have done a phenomenal job with your children, Jamie. I've enjoyed watching them grow up, and I've seen them working. And I remember seeing a post about Jada taking you out to dinner one night with her hard-earned money. So my hat's off to Jada, and hopefully Jesse does the same thing for you.
One day, we'll see.
One day, we'll see. If not, I'll send him a message, okay?
That's it. That's it.
Well, I'm ready to dive in, Jamie. And what I'd love to do for our audience, I would love to read your bio to them, because I have also thoroughly enjoyed watching you over the years, but more importantly, over the last year or the last year and a half, because you've done some phenomenal things, been noticed and been seen on some pretty interesting TV shows and things of this nature, which I'll tell about and you can share about. But Jamie Parker is from Atlanta, Georgia, and brings 16 years of experience in helping his clients sell, buy, or invest in real estate. Jamie has been a member of the Agent Leadership Council while at Keller Williams, and is now a 5X Icon agent, trainer, and mentor agent with eXp Realty. Jamie has been a member, he has averaged 50 transactions a year as a solo agent for the last 8 years, and sold $62 million in real estate in 2020 to 2023. $62 million. That's a phenomenal thing, Jamie. Congratulations. He was recently featured on the cover of Top Agent magazine, as well as being spotlighted in Shout Out Atlanta, Atlanta Real Producers, and Atlanta Voyager. He was also featured on an episode of the Negotiators reality TV show, and has filmed 2 episodes of HGTV House Hunters that are expected to air in 2023. Jamie also recently wrote and released his first book, 21 Days to Surrender. Congratulations, Jamie. And before real estate, he was an orchestra teacher. Jamie taught music in the Metro Atlanta area schools for more than 17 years, holds 3 degrees in education from Georgia State and the University of Georgia. He currently volunteers in the music ministry at his church and is on the board of directors for Camp Swamp and Hope Dealers. Jamie, welcome to WCEG Talk Radio, and congratulations on all those accolades that you've accomplished over the last several years.
Thank you.
And also want to give you a personal thank you. You know, you are a servant leader, Jamie, and I know every year Women of Community Impact does a Mother's Day dinner for Home of Hope, and you came and played the saxophone for all those women at the Mother's Day dinner that Women of Community Impact did with the volunteers. And I want to tell you that that was the most phenomenal Mother's Day dinner that we ever did, and everyone thoroughly enjoyed the music. It set the tone for the entire evening, and those ladies just sat there and just enjoyed. They relaxed, they had me time, and you were just a sensation, and you really touched the hearts of all those women as well as the volunteers with Women in Community Impact. What does it mean to you to give back like that? And what was your experience when you went to the Home of Hope and you played the music? You know, you're playing, and I'm sure you saw everybody, but what did it mean to you, or what was your take on that?
Well, we've been blessed. You've been blessed with talents. I've been blessed with talents. We've all been blessed with talents and abilities, and we're supposed to use those talents and abilities for the betterment of our communities. So when I have an opportunity to do that, that's, I don't want to say, I'm not going to call it, it's not an obligation, but it's just like it's a privilege. It's a privilege to get to go and serve. It's a privilege to get to go help those that have really come out of really bad circumstances. I mean, I don't know the details of all of those people there, but they're there for a reason. And to be able to encourage them and to give them hope. They're already in a place that's helping them with hope, but then music is the universal language. It can connect people and unify people together in a way that nothing else can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just it's an honor and a privilege to be able to use the abilities God has given me to be able to pay it forward.
Well, we appreciate that. And matter of fact, I think I reached out to you last week. I think they're having another special event, and they're reaching out to you that they, I know how much it touched their hearts. And like you say, music is a universal language right there. And you could tell that those women were totally different from the time they walked in, that this was all about them. And then the way they walked out, because you played at the end, there was a peace in their heart that they felt honored to be honored and to be a mother. And no matter what their circumstance was, they were honored to be amazing women. So thank you, Jamie.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, let's get into this real estate, because I'm super excited about that. How did you get started in real estate, and what's your story?
So I really got into real estate. We were at, well, first of all, when I bought, I think it was my third house that I bought. So I bought my first house at 22 and then stayed there for about 3 or 4 years, let the equity go up, and then moved into my next house. And then, when I bought the third house, it was, I saw how much the real estate agent made. I was like, wow, I'm like teaching school and I'm pulling in like $3,000 a month. And I was like, you just stuck me in the back of your car, showed me a few houses, and you made $10,000. And I have to work 3 months to make $10,000. And then on top of that, I was at a church marriage retreat. I was married at the time, and we were at a church marriage workshop. And one of the people there was like, well, if you don't make enough money for your wives to stay home, you may want to think about a career change. And I have always had side hustles. I've always done that, even from the time I was little. I collected baseball cards, and I was really obsessed with baseball and sports cards and memorabilia. And I still remember this day. This is still a great story. I traded a Todd Van Poppel rookie card. You like Todd Van who? Exactly, Todd Van who, for a Jerry Rice rookie card. Now, I still have that Jerry Rice rookie card in my safe deposit box. It's never come out of the plastic that I bought it in. that was a good wheeling and dealing. And I would eventually sell my cards, and because my parents wouldn't buy me a Nintendo, they didn't like video games. So if I wanted it, I had to save for it, or I had to figure out a way to get it. So I saved, I collected my cards, found someone who wanted to buy the cards, and got enough money to buy a Super Nintendo back in the day, probably eighth grade, whatever. And so I've always just kind of had that drive. My grandfather, he opened the first frozen food store in Boston 2 years before Birdseye. In fact, Birdseye actually came to his store to see what was going on. And unfortunately, it could have been Parker instead of Birdseye. But yeah, we all know that timing is everything. So going back to the real estate, Jaden had just been born, and I decided I was going to go ahead and get my license. So I was studying online, which you can imagine in 2006 how interesting online education was.
Right. Not much.
But I was able to get it online, and while she was crawling around on the floor, so she was about maybe 8 months old when I got my real estate license in February of 2007. And I really got it so that we could have a better life. And it was really just meant to be a side hustle at first. So I sold my first house that summer. So I got my license in February, and I was playing with Bobby Benton at the Cobb with it's the Cobb Civic Center. It's now they have now different, much nicer places over there, but the Civic Center is still there. And I was talking to one of the musicians there and told him I just got my real estate license. He said, "Great, you're going to sell my house." And that's exactly what we did. I actually did not sell his house. That was not my first transaction. I had somebody call me off the sign. That was my first transaction. And to this day, that person is still in the same house. We still talk. My very first sale ever in June of 2007. They are still in that exact same house that I sold them. And now they're actually talking about moving now 17 years later, 17, 18 years later, maybe turning that into a rental and moving into something a little bit bigger or in a different area. So that's really the story of how I got into real estate. And then I was doing real estate on the side. So I was still teaching. So first year I sold like one house. Second year I sold like four houses. And then we just kind of the snowball effect as I started getting referred to other people. And the thing is, my clients never knew I was a part-time agent unless they were a teacher that I was selling to. Or they asked. If they asked, of course, you're always truthful that this is not my full-time gig. But nobody ever knew because the level of service that I provided for them was to say, that there was never a drop off in what I was able to provide for them. And so finally it all kind of came to a head like in 2012, 2013, I sold 23 homes with a full-time job. And I could not do that anymore. And I was stepped down. But what really got me to step down is it was a Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. I'm at my school and I'm walking down the hall, and I'd already been doing a lot of personal development classes. I've had a lot of great training that they don't teach the kids in school. Unfortunately, they should, but they don't. And I was implementing all that training with my children in my lessons. And I was walking down the hall and I smiled at a teacher. I said, "Good morning, Miss So-and-so." I don't remember who it was. I said, how you doing today?" And she's like, "5 more days till Friday." I was like, I have got to get out of here. Like I couldn't deal with me if that, because when you surround yourself with that, then that starts to weigh on you and that starts to take you down. So at the end of that year, I decided that this was not gonna be for me. But why did it take me 7 years of doing real estate part-time to quit? Because my dad had always told me he had been downsized so many times throughout his career. He wanted me to go into teaching because it would be safe. You have to do something really dumb to get fired.
Right.
And so that's why it took me a while to quit, to move on. But I'm very glad I did because I've done very well since I left teaching, and less stress.
Very good. Absolutely. And, for all of our listeners out there who might be entrepreneurs or things of that nature, I've spent over 45 years in direct sales. And believe it or not, when I first got into direct sales, I was a an administrative assistant for a real estate firm here in Atlanta. And so therefore, I worked full time in a real estate office, and then I did direct sales part time. And there is nothing wrong with having a full time job and working part time in a direct selling business or real estate, whatever the venture may be, and then going into it full time. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And sometimes, we just need that confidence that we can do that. And, and obviously, like you say, it's sort of snowballed, but the more time you can invest into your direct sales, whether it be real estate, insurance, anything of that nature, the better you're going to be and the more successful you're going to be. But there's nothing wrong in getting started with having a full-time job and working part-time and working into it, because eventually you'll go full-time.
That's right. And the one thing I would say, if you're listening and that's something that's on your heart, that you don't like what you do and you want to go into something else, well, I made that decision that I was going to save the equivalent of 1 year's take-home pay from my teaching job, which, I mean, at $3,000 a month, it wasn't really, that was after the taxes and all that stuff. But I wanted at least of my take-home, not my overall pay, but just my take-home pay.
Right.
And I saved that. And, the way things worked is when I got, after about 7 or 8 months, Gwinnett County was like, hey, do you want to come back? Because I'd actually taken a sabbatical because I was stressed out with everything. And the day that they asked me I wanted to come back, I got the letter in the mail. I got $1 million listing in Sugarloaf Country Club. I was like, okay, thank God you answered that. There's no going back.
Absolutely.
And then kept moving forward from there.
Absolutely. So speaking of real estate, Jamie, what is the Atlanta metropolitan area real estate market like today, right now, today?
Well, it's a very interesting market. We're hearing a lot of noise. I'll call it noise because that's what it is. It's noise. You hear there's a lot of, I would say, misinformation that you're going to hear. So you have to really sift through the noise because good news doesn't sell. Good news doesn't sell. Only bad news sells. And getting people to get all riled up about stuff is what gets people to gets people to look at stuff. So let's just talk about 2023 for a minute. And what happened in Atlanta in 2023. What was the market like in 2023? And I think this is going to be, it was pretty hot. So 28 plus billion dollars in real estate was sold in the metro Atlanta area in 2023. That's about 58,696 single family homes. Now, I'm not including multifamily and other things. We're just talking, let's just stick with single family homes here.
All right.
The average sales price was $411,000. And the average sales price, like percentage of asking price received, was 98% once they adjusted. So many of the homes had price reductions. Like the average sales price was $411, but the average listing price was $439. So you can kind of see, what happened where people were having to make adjustments to their listings, which would not have been the case the year before. Like you could just stick a sign in there and you get 50 offers on the first weekend. Then we're talking about average days on the market was 44 days. Ooh, that sounds a lot different than like 2022 when it was like 8 or 7 or 5 or, where the average days on the market was really, really low. And now let's compare that to now, because everybody's like, the market is plateauing. The market's not as good, yada, yada, yada. And now we are in September.
It's an election year.
It's an election year. I'm just going to hold off on buying a house. It's not the right time. Interest rates are higher. Okay. And, do you remember like back in the Carter administration, what the interest rates were, Celeste?
Was it like 14% or something?
18%.
18%, something.
And guess what? People still bought homes.
That's right.
People were still buying houses back at 18% interest. So the fact that I had a client yesterday close at 6.3%. I think I bought my first house bought my first house in 1997. And I want to say I was right at that 6.5, 7% rate somewhere. Of course, the difference was the house was $127,000, not what it is today. So let's talk about year to date in Atlanta. And I think you can see when we extrapolate these numbers out, you'll kind of see what's happening. So right now, year to date, we're at 21 billion in sales. And we were at 28 billion the entire year last year. We still have most of September, October, November, December left to go. So we still have about 3.5 months left to go. My guess would be we will exceed the 28 billion from last year. That would be my guess. I mean, if we're already at 21 billion, we will probably exceed that number. 41,000 sales versus 50. I think I told it was 58,000 plus last year. We'll have to see if we get the actual number of units to be there, but I think we're going to be close unit wise. But the average sales price is up $11,000 to 422,264. And then we're still around the same 98% of asking price. But the days on the market, it was 44 days in 2023. We're at 40 days now.
Really, I would have thought that maybe it was a little bit longer. So we're down a little bit of how long it's on the
Yeah,
market.
so houses are selling on average of about 4 days quicker than they did last year.
Okay.
We're still seeing price reductions. We're still seeing that same trend go on. I know I can personally say my listings seem to be getting less showings. I mean, that's my own informal survey of what I have right now, what we have. But we have sold some listings in, 3 days, 2 days, 5 days, 7 days recently in the last few months. It just depends on the house, depends on the price, depends on the area. There are a lot of variables that go on with that. I say all this to say this. The sky is not falling. Real estate is doing fine. Your prices are increasing. Because everybody said 2024, we're going to crash. Isn't that what you heard? Because that's what I kept on
Still
hearing.
hearing that. You're still hearing that.
Yeah, there's going to be a recession. There's going to be the bubble's going to burst, and prices are too high. Now interest rates are too high. People can't afford houses. Blah 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 blah. Let me just tell you, I just recently went into a new community in Conyers. So if you want affordable housing, there are communities. Conyers is only 29 miles from Atlanta. Brand new 5-bedroom, 3-bath house for $390,000, which is going to put you about $2,100, give or take, a month, $2,200. Now, go look to see what a 2-bedroom apartment costs you right now in a decent area. And you're going to find your apartment for
$2,000, $2,000.
Yeah, it's going to cost about that much. And now you can have a 5-bedroom house in less than 30 miles from Atlanta. So you want to work, if you're working in Atlanta, you could be there. You're very close to even a mall in that area. You're only about 15 minutes from the mall and other shopping. So there are still pockets and places you can go to that we would call now affordable. I never thought I would say 390,000 was affordable back in the day, because we were selling, I think my first sale was 164,000. That was the entry point back in 2007 when people were looking to get homes.
So let me ask you something, Jamie. So if let's say somebody has a 30-year-old house, 30-year-old house, and it's been maintained as well, it's a good neighborhood and everything. What advice would you give to that person who is wanting to list that home today? What advice would you give them?
You need to decide how urgent it is for you to sell. And do you want top dollar for your house? So if you want top dollar for your house, then there are some things that have to get done to your house.
Such as?
To update it. So, we all have heard kitchens and baths. That's what we want to focus on, kitchens, bath, and neutralizing the house. What is neutralizing the house? If you have wallpaper, orange walls, green walls, red walls, blue walls, the whole house gets painted gray, agreeable gray, the entire house, interior. And we do some mild updating of the kitchens and baths. Sometimes it may be sometimes it could be a big update. Depends on the house and depends on what they've done all along. We focus on those areas because those are going to deliver your biggest bang for the buck. And did you know, you say, Jamie, I have $400,000 of equity in my house, but I only have $10,000 in the bank. That's pretty common. People have a lot of their money tied up in their house.
In our house, yeah.
Lots of equity, but not a lot of money in savings. Yeah, that whole little inflation thing that we've heard about that's going on. You know, a lot of people don't have as much liquid because of how much more expensive everything is now. So we have a solution. We can actually bring in contractors and tap into the equity of your house, pay $0 out of pocket, no money out, and fix up their house. And when their house sells, all that just comes out of their proceeds at closing. Now, if there is a little bit, I'm not going to lie, they're not the cheapest contractors. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than normal. But the point is you're able to get top market dollar. Now, what if you're like, Jamie, I don't want to go through all that hassle. That's too much work. I just don't want to do that. We could sell the property as is. And so when we're selling the property as is, then we're looking at, all right, well, this one, here's a house that sold in your neighborhood for 500,000, but it had X, Y, and Z. Well, your house doesn't have X, Y, and Z. So now we have to extrapolate that value down to make it more compelling where the average for the general market.
Well, and I think that's the key right there too, Jamie, is people, and I say people in general, they think, oh, the housing market is up, people are getting top dollar for their houses, but really it's pricing your house at fair market value. That's the deal. When you go to sell it, some people think, well, I want to ask X amount of dollars for it, but it's really not worth that X amount of dollars. And then they want to know why it stays on the market for ever and ever and
That's
ever.
right. That's right.
But if you were to come down and price it at the fair market value with still, which would be a tremendous profit, but not exuberant. And that's what I see, because we watch the market a lot. We live here, we have a home here. We're looking, Mike works up in Northern Kentucky, and we're looking at some homes up there. And, everything that I've seen, and a lot of things, some beautiful stuff, but some of them are really priced way up here when they're not really a fair market value.
No, we can market your home on every billboard in the city of Atlanta. And if it's not priced right, nobody will buy your house.
That's right.
It could be everywhere. It does not matter. It doesn't matter the amount of marketing we do to a house. My job is to get people to come see your house. And nobody will go to an overpriced house. You may get one showing once in a while, but you're not going to get what you should be getting if your house is not priced properly. And that's where your real estate professional comes. Somebody like myself is going to make sure your house is priced properly. And when you listen to somebody like myself, you're going to get a predictable result. Guess what? Your house is going to sell. That's what will happen.
That brings up another question, Jamie. What qualities should someone look for in a real estate agent?
That is a great question. We all know people whose Uncle Harry sells real estate. Right? Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I don't get everything I go to. I won't lie that happens. I mean, I get most of what I go to compete for, but I don't get all of it. And I think the last one I didn't get was like last week or the week before, and they're using like a family friend or a family. I don't know how good that family friend is. I don't know where they came from. I don't know who it was. But my point is, I showed them I live in the area. I'm in the area. I'm part of the community. I sell a lot of real estate in the area. I'm 10 minutes from their house. I can service their house. I can be there for them. And yet they went off to go use somebody else because of that connection. So I would say you're dealing with the most expensive purchase for the most part, like 99% of the population. This is the most expensive thing they will ever buy in their entire lives. Are you going to trust your broke Uncle Harry who sells one house per year? Or are you going to trust somebody like myself who does 40 to 50 homes and millions of dollars in transactions every year that you can go on Google, see my ratings. You can go on Zillow and see 55, 60 5-star reviews. You can go and see testimonials of what people are saying. You can go watch me on HGTV. I mean, is that what isn't that, if you're dropping down 50, 60, $80,000 sometimes as a down payment on a house. Don't you want someone who can be a good fiduciary of that process, that is experienced? Or do you want to trust it to somebody just because you like them, just because they're family? So that's one of the things you need to look at. What kind of experience? That's number one. What is their experience? Are they experienced? Do they know how to negotiate? Are they in it just to get a commission? Or are they in it for your best interest? I always said my very first card says it's all about you. It's all about your wants, your needs, your desires. It's not about me getting a commission.
That's right.
If I help you get what you want, I'll get paid. That's a given. I want what's best for the client. And I was just recently working with a client looking at some new construction. And I've learned in this, I'm here to help get the client what they want. Unless they're like seeking advice and seeking direction. And we were actually comparing and contrasting the two communities. And I was at least able to bring her to another community. She didn't end up choosing that community, but I was able to present something that was very compelling to her that she didn't otherwise know about, that would have actually saved her in the long run, a ton of money. It wasn't the right location or community for her, but being able to present and know that that community was there and know what the incentives are, know that it came with a washer and dryer, it came with a refrigerator, it came with lots of incentives. Yeah, at least it gave her something to think about, as opposed to what she had already sent over to me. And so that's also the value in your real estate agent. No matter how many homes I send you, Celeste, guess what? You're going to go on Zillow and Redfin and you're going to look. It doesn't matter. I mean, I already know that. That's a given. I can do a very specific search for you. I can set you up in our portal, exactly the criteria you're looking for. But every consumer is always going to be like, I wonder if that's everything. It's 11 o'clock at night. Let me go look on Zillow to see. Those are consumer sites, and they are actually meant for entertainment purposes. They are driven for entertainment. Yes, is there some factual information on there? I would call factual in quotes, because a lot of it is misinformation on there. I cannot tell you how much I get from the consumer sites that's sent over to me that is not actually the correct information.
Well, a good thing about that, like Zillow, you go in there and look at an area, Jamie, and you're looking at a house. Let's say you're looking at a house that's $664,000, and then you're looking at every house in that community, and they're anywhere from 5 to 575, and then you might see a splash of one being 620, but they're basically in the fives. To me, something's wrong with that house right there. Maybe it's got that extra garage. It's a 3-car garage, but the average price of those homes in that area are not the high sixes.
That's correct. And everybody thinks their house is all that in a bag of chips, but it's not. But most houses, you've got to look at, when we go through my process, when I decide, when I work with you, Celeste, is we're going to sit down, and not only am I going to show you the data, but we're going to go through pictures. Why do I want to go through pictures? Because pictures say 1,000 words. Pictures can say way more than any statistics I can show you. Because facts tell, stories sell. And we want to say the story of your community, the story of what's happening. Well, how do you know the story? The story is when we're looking at pictures. They tell the story of all the homes that are being sold, and what are their qualities, and what are their values, and what are their characteristics, and where does your house stack up? And if you were going to buy a house in your neighborhood or your area, would you buy your own house, or would you buy one of these houses? And when we go over that process, by the time we're done, the seller and we have a good understanding that, yeah, of course, I have a number in my head when I get there that I know what the house should be listed for. I want my seller to be on board with that. I want them to give me a number based on the data that I've sent, and then we can talk about that number. So when we're all done and we sign that listing agreement, we put that for sale sign, they are super happy with that number. They're all in on that number. When they're all in on that number, that makes my job a lot easier because we're also putting out the right energy when we're all in on the number. We're all in agreement with each other. So it's really making sure that we know, the seller knows that you have their best interest at heart. And it's the same thing on the buy side. You may have heard about some new rule changes and everything that's going on in the industry. And on the buy side, you have us as agents, we have to show what is our value to you as a buyer, as a buyer's agent to represent you. We are now like attorneys. So when you go to an attorney's office, you're going to sign an agreement. And you're going to sign an agreement to work with that attorney, right? And they're going to say, oh, this is our fee. It's the same thing now as real estate agents. When we're working with a buyer, before we can ever let anybody set foot in a house or a property, we have to have some kind of an agreement with them, either an exclusive agreement with them or a one-off property agreement. Like, I'm going to show you this house, and if you buy it, then this is how I get compensated. And that's all from and we've always had that in Georgia. Georgia was not one of the states that caused the issue. It's always been clear on our contracts in Georgia of how things are done. It's even more clear now than it was. There's a lot more verbiage that is, if it wasn't clear before, now it's like 3 times clear. Same thing. But that's, as a buyer's agent, what am I doing for my buyer? Just like what I just shared with you, looking at the new home. My buyer still ultimately ended up going to where their first choice was originally, but I was at least able to give them some options that would have put more money in their pocket and actually could have really helped them in the, for where they wanted to be. Wasn't the right house, wasn't the right community. That's all good, but at least they had an option, and at least they knew about some other things. So when we're, as a buyer's agent, is your agent out there hustling for you? Is your agent out there looking for you? Does your agent know the area of the community? Do they have connections? Do they know people? So that they can do all that. Because some of it it's all about who you know. It's not about sometimes what you know, it's about who you know.
Well, and Jamie, we got some questions here that I want to
Sure.
our audience that I want to bring up, but I want to close the statement of what you were just saying. If you're looking to buy or sell a house, this is the business mentor in me and the business coaching. And Jamie, you and I know your background, my background. We've worked together as colleagues and everything, is that you need to interview your real estate agents. You need to know them. You need to do your due diligence and your background check with them. Is that somebody that only sells 2 or 3 houses a year? Or is it somebody that's rolling over houses hand over foot like that? Because also it's a numbers game, as you said, Jamie, is that the more active this real estate agent is, the more active he's going to be with his lead generation, bringing people to the house, showing the house, and things of this nature. And the experience, going back to the experience, there has to be a connect there, because selling a house is an experience. It can be a good experience or it can be a bad experience.
My first one was a terrible experience, awful.
Yeah, it is. And you want to make sure you have that good realtor that your values, your morals, and ethics are the same, that this person is as you're rocking, rocking Jamie Parker or that's whatever. It. But you want to have somebody that's a rock star out there, that is a shaker and a mover. I don't want somebody that goes through life casually with my house. A house is somebody's most expensive investment that they make. And right now, depending on how long they've been in that house, it's the most asset that they have. You know what I'm saying? So who do you want to trust your assets with? Whether it's with, this is getting into another story that we're going to have in a show in October, but your 401k and your financial planner, do you want someone that just came on board and is learning the ropes, this or that, or you want a more seasoned, more experienced one? Do you want to play risky? Do you want to play safe? There's all kinds of things. And that's the same thing with a house, and I've noticed, Jamie, that I've seen you where you sold house 2-3 days. You put it in there 2-3 days, man, it's gone. Maybe 7 days it's sold. But usually you don't have a lot of houses that stay on the market long, because I know you're a shaker and a mover, and you're looking for reasons to show people that house, and you're looking to move it because you have been educated. You have invested in yourself, Jamie, with education and knowledge. You've had people coach you and guide you. And so therefore you have practiced and put that into place for your customer. Not every real estate agent does that. They haven't invested in themselves, and they're not hungry. You're hungry not because you have to be. You're hungry because you understand the system and the process.
That's right.
So I just want to say that to you. If you're looking to buy or sell, do your due diligence, do some interviews, and look into the backgrounds. Some of the questions we have, Jamie: why have down payments changed drastically?
Well, so when we talk about down payments, they're still the same. There's still 3% down for a good qualified first time conventional buyer, 3.5% for FHA, 0% or no money down for USDA or veterans.
But is that just for the first time? No money down for veterans?
No, they can use their VA entitlement for no money down. There are also some other community programs that are out there. I get a list, and if anybody wants, they can stick their email in the chat. I get a list every week of 0 down payment homes through a community program. I think you have to have a minimum 620, 640 credit score. And let me clarify what credit score is, guys. Credit score is not what you get on Credit Karma. There is a mortgage credit score. You will have, if you want to know what yours is, you will probably have to pay 20 or 30 bucks on like myfico.com or one of those sites where you can actually pull your mortgage score. It is not your Credit Karma score. That is like your credit card, like to get a credit card score. There are different credits. So as you're looking, just as a little tip for you, make sure you know what your mortgage credit score is when you get started. Your lender can pull one of those up for you as well. But that is, so down payments haven't really, the base programs are still the same. Your FHA, VA, conventional programs have not changed, but there are some community grants and programs out there where you can get a 0 down or a low down payment or get help with your down payment.
Okay. What's with the overbidding to purchase a home over the asking price?
We are not seeing as much of that right now, thankfully.
Right.
However, a nice home will still get multiple people wanting to buy it. So say there's a house that has, for example, I just sold one that has swimming pool in the backyard, an in-ground saltwater pool with a hot tub on, and just a beautiful rock feature, just an amazing backyard, just ridiculous. We did get 20-something thousand dollars over asking price because that is so uncommon for that neighborhood and for that area. And we appraised and everything. We had no problems with the appraisal. But because that had such a ridiculous pool in the backyard, that people wanted to bid and pay over. And typically when they pay over, we're looking for a cash guarantee, meaning, okay, well, what if it doesn't appraise at that? Do you actually have the money to give us in case it doesn't appraise? Unfortunately, this one did appraise and we were fine. And the buyer would have had the cash in that particular instance. But that's what happens with the overbidding. It could be when we have more of a seller's market. We're still in a seller's market, y'all. We are still very much in a seller's market. We are still supply versus demand. There's way less supply than there is actually demand for houses right now. So that is something for you guys to keep in mind, that is still a very real thing. And a nice house could still get multiple offers if it's in the right schools, the right upgrades done to it, and priced here's the key: priced
Price
properly.
properly.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, and also I think with um one of Jamie, a question just came across. Do you sell commercial properties too?
Yes, we do sell commercial properties. We
Okay,
do
very
everything. If it involves real estate, we do it all. And if I have to partner with somebody, if it's not I will always put you with somebody who is amazing and awesome. So if it's like outside of my comfort level or outside of where I think I can do really well for you, I'm going to get help and bring in somebody else. I can still be involved in the process, but I want somebody who is going to serve my clients better if that's not my wheelhouse, if that makes sense.
All right, so let me give you an example here. So we live in Gwinnett County.
Mhm.
You do too. So we have a neighborhood. We'll take my neighborhood for example. It's a single cul-de-sac, you know, neighborhood. It doesn't have any amenities, but we have houses that are on almost a half acre lot. Okay, and the houses are um what was I gonna say? The houses are spread apart.
Mhm.
And so therefore we've had in the last couple of years, I mean, we've had primarily for 30 something years, the same people in this neighborhood up until the last couple of years. I think maybe there's been less than a half a dozen transactions in our neighborhood since the conception of it.
Mhm.
But you take an older home that's 30 something years old on bigger lots, a lot of living space and things of that nature, one way in, one way out, compared to a newer home that everything's brand spanking new, but they're like this, and you can pass some sugar to next door to your neighbor or whatever. So, is there more bidding going on in some older homes that people like that versus brand new, or do they like the brand new homes?
Majority of the people are going to like the brand new homes.
Brand new homes, okay.
Yeah, especially we are definitely, I'll call it age discrimination among the buyers. I have buyers that will literally tell me, don't show me anything older than 2012 or
Okay.
2015 or 2000, whatever. I recently had a buyer that will only look at new homes. That's not to say they're only, they have the budget for resale, but they will only look at new homes. So there's a lot of folks that want the new homes. That new homes that mean the new homes are better. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've had more problems with my new home that I bought in
Oh,
2020. It was new, brand new. We watched it being built. We haven't had any problems for the most part from the build of it, other than we did have the basement leaked just a little bit with all the heavy rain, which I've been in homes since I was 22 years old. I've never had a basement leak ever. And here I'm in a new home and my basement leaks. I mean, go figure. That's never happened to me before. I had all sorts of issues with air conditioning, hot water heaters, appliances. I've already replaced my refrigerator. I went like 2 weeks with no AC, like the first summer I was in the house because waiting on parts to come in at during COVID and all that. So there are, and everything we look at, there are prices and benefits to everything. If you have an older home that has been maintained, the air conditioning is not 30 years old, it is new or 5 years old. The roof is 5 years old. The hot water heater is 4 years old. The windows have been replaced. They're double pane windows, they're not single pane windows. You have granite countertops. There's no carpet in the bathrooms. Yes, back then they put carpets in the bathrooms. I don't know if yours did, but I
no,
had
but
a house.
I didn't let them know.
Yeah, well, but there's so if all of those things have been taken care of and it's updated, there will be people that are interested because it looks more or less like a new home, but then you do have the spacing and probably good. I think your neighborhood has good schools and all the things along with that. But there is definite, even with all that being done, I definitely will say there are people that will only buy new or newer. Period. And it doesn't
Absolutely.
matter what else I show them. It doesn't matter. That's their buy box. And no matter what else I introduce to them, that's what they're gonna do.
All right. Well, Jamie, we have about 5 minutes left.
Mhm.
And so, what I'd like for you to do, first of all, I have one last question, but
Mhm.
I'd like for you to tell our audience and our listeners your name and how they can get a hold of you, your website, phone number, anything. I'd like for you to get that out first, please.
Yes. My name is Jamie Parker. I'm a real estate agent with eXp Realty. I'm an icon agent with them 5 times over. That just means I get to I have to teach classes for eXp. I get to speak on regional and national stages for them as an icon agent. My cell phone number, yes, I'm going to give you my cell phone number. Yes, you can I'm actually very accessible. I will text you back fairly quickly after you text me or call me. That's 404-483-7816, 404-483-7816. My website is really easy, rockinagent.com, ROCKIN agent, AGENT.com, because I'm the Rockin agent, taking away your real estate blues one house at a time, Celeste.
Absolutely, Jamie. My last question for you is, what does the future look like?
The future is very bright. And what is that? Why do I say that? Well, from like 2006 to 2012, builders weren't building homes. Guess what? People were still having babies. People are still having kids. Still have parents moving in with them. People are getting divorced. People are getting married, yada, 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 coming into this area. Metro Atlanta is projected to get another 1.8 million people by 2050. So guess what we need? We need houses. Guess what we don't have enough of? Houses. Why do you see most of the new developments that are being built in a lot of areas are townhomes? Because they're high density. We need more housing for the area, try to squeeze everything in. So we will continue to see prices increase. We are going to continue. Now, it may not be like 22 where you're getting 20% a year increase, but we will still see. I just showed you the stats. We're up $11,000 on average price between 23 and now. And let's take this a step further back. If you bought a home in 1991, you're like, well, 1991, some of you were not even born in 1991, but hey, let's just go with this figure, the third quarter of 1991, and you were still in that home today in the state of Georgia. Did you know that your home is worth 301% more than when you bought it? Has increased 301%. And over the last 5 years, did you know Georgia is up about 71% statewide? So is real estate a good investment? Yes. And every time, and I have a lot of great information for y'all. Every time you hear on the news that they're saying things are going to crash and things are going to go home, I have a timeline. I have a great slide that's a timeline. And over the last 10 years, and all the pundits are saying this is going to happen and this is going to happen. What actually happened with the real estate market, despite what the media was saying was going to happen. And guess what? It went up and it continues to go up.
No, absolutely.
People always need a place to live. And the last thing I'll say, and when supply is low and demand is high, and you own part of the supply, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to go up and you're going to make money.
Yeah. All right, we're about to top of the hour, and I do have something that I want to say, but I have one more question. We're going to go ahead and he just answered. Why is the Atlanta the place to live and buy real estate? And it is a very hot market right there. I mean, the thing, I just read an article yesterday or something about top 10 cities that the housing market's declining in and stuff like that. Atlanta wasn't on it, so Atlanta's good. Jamie, what a wealth of knowledge today. You know, you are always my go-to real estate agent that I love to have on the show because you do your due diligence, you study, you give us the facts and the information that our audience and our listeners. Again, I want you to reach out to Jamie if you have any questions, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home. Jamie Parker is the gentleman you want to see, and that's Jamie at rockinagent.com, 404-483-7816. And my last thing in closing is I want to congratulate Penny Rogers and WCEG. We're on Roku TV, and we were regional. And this summer, Penny and the WCEG Network was awarded a global international. So you can find these shows all over the world on WCEG Network. And we're just so privileged and honored to be a part of this family. We love you guys so much. Also, tonight is the debate. Please watch the debate, where it's an election year, and we want to make sure, doesn't matter who you vote for, but you do need to do your due diligence. Watch the debate tonight. Go and vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, but you have a civic duty to vote. So make sure you vote. Okay. Love you guys. Love you, Jamie. Thank you so much. Thank you, Penny Rogers.
Celeste.
Have a blessed
Appreciate it,
day.
y'all. Thank you, Penny.
Bye.
It's a wrap. Thank you all. It was wonderful. Thank you for that information, Jamie. I see why everybody's moving to Atlanta and tying up all the traffic, okay?
Yeah. Well, we
Crazy
didn't
out
get a
there.
chance to go there, but like Johns Creek is the #1 city in Atlanta in America to move to. Like,
Okay,
they
great.
actually was just rated, and Atlanta is in the top. I mean,
Ah.
Atlanta is consistently the #1, #2 by Money Magazine, Business. I mean, all the people were saying because of what we have here. I mean, I got to be honest with you. It's a lot of it is because we're very pro-business here, and in the state, and we make it easy for businesses to come here. We have so many employers and so many, like the battery plant that's opening outside of Savannah. That's like $3 billion infrastructure investment into our state, and going to produce like tens of thousands of jobs. Rivian moving their plant here to Covington. This big Rowan plant that's going up off of 316, like 100,000-acre development. With
Wow.
all just crazy stuff happening, but we make it easy for people to do business here, which creates jobs, which creates people wanting to come here. And of course, we have the film industry, which
Yes, the film industry
is
really
the
Yes.
picks up a lot.
more movies are made here than in Hollywood.
Yes, they are. Yes, this is the new Hollywood of the South.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
It
for
is.
that information. It's really, I mean, we're full here. People just keep coming here. They just keep moving here, and the businesses, as you say, are coming here as well.
Yeah,
Bringing
exactly.
that
So
in.
as long as we maintain that pro-business platform, which God willing we will, we keep up the good work that's been happening here. And of course, Georgia has free college. I
Right,
actually got a raise when my daughter went to college because I was sending her to private school. Now she's in college. I don't have $11,000 a year in tuition to pay for private school anymore.
Okay.
Literally, I paid $400 so far. That's all I've paid. That's it.
Wow. That's a
And
good
she's in
incentive to
for her
tell you
first
that.
semester of college. And I just paid the activity fees and hope scholarship takes care of the rest.
Well, and Jamie, that says a lot about you and her parents. You've put them in private schools, you have them in church, you've raised your children the right way, and my hat's off to you and for doing that. And and they prevail. And now it's up to her to keep that GPA
It
so
is.
she can get
Yeah,
that
it's up
free
to
that
her.
school. And but that is a blessing. But it's a two-part thing. You and your parents are very important in instilling that into these children.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you can send them to private school. Not everybody has that option to send their kids to private school, but you made the sacrifices. You knew what you had to do to put her there, and you did it.
Yeah, I mean, my son doesn't have to do that, but he's doing fine in the public school. But that just wasn't the right environment for her.
For her. Absolutely. All right. Well, Penny, what a great first show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Jamie. It's been an
So these just kind of live on
again.
there, so you can go on like Roku, or how do we access it again? So we can put the actual, so I can promote the actual show once it's. I'm assuming it's out there already at this point.
Right. It's archived on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And you can see the replays there on LinkedIn. I've tagged you and Celeste on LinkedIn.
Okay,
Facebook,
perfect.
And our Facebook and YouTube. Yes, on those 3 networks. Yes.
Cool beans.
Okay. Thank you so much. And
all right, well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, Penny. Thank you for hosting. Thank you, Celeste, for asking me.
And remember
All right.
the 9/11 commemoration on tomorrow for the.
Oh, that's right. I know I was
Okay.
looking at that 9/11 and I forgot. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Well, thank you all so much, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, Celeste.
all right. Well, that sounds good. Hey, Penny, can you stay on for a minute, please?
Sure.
Okay. I'll go ahead, bug out.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, Penny. Thanks, Celeste.
Bye-bye.
So will you be able, once this thing's over with or whatever, will you be able to put it where you tag me, where I get the reviews and the likes, where
Let's see. Let me do that now.
we're still, you need to turn us off. We're not.
Oh, we're off. We've been off.
No, this thing's showing that we're still talking.
I did in